Motion to adopt the agenda.
Yeah, thank you.
There
That
we go.
one, there you go.
Larry made it, I second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So pledge of allegiance, Ty? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, time for Share Good Things. We always like to share good things happening in our school district. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. Mhm.
I don't have Facebook. I'm not a reliable source, but
Something like that. Hey, no, that's great. So that's
The
great.
good part is
She's getting out. Cool. All right. Anybody else? Any good things?
I went to the play this week. It was our weekend, and it was fantastic. The theater kids did a really great job.
Mm-hmm.
We had an activity day at the high school Friday. We recovered over 60 failing grades during the middle of it. And got a lot of involvement with community members and different people like that, so I thought overall it was a pretty good success.
That's really good. We're about to kick off winter sports, I believe. So
Right there
the
in front of us.
soup scrimmage, if I make sure to say that correctly, Friday night. If you come on out, and $5, I believe you can get a ticket from players or anyone and to come and have a bowl of soup, dessert, and a drink. So, okay. All right. Do we have any statements from patrons? I don't see any patrons. Oh. I'll have to put the principals in charge of that one. No statements.
So, Chris, I don't see any patrons.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So.
You need to talk, Chris.
All right, so we're on to presentations. The fiscal year 2021 audit report by Schultz, Wood, and Rapp, the certified public accountants, and Ken is not here. Or
So we've got a Zoom link, so it might take a second to get
Okay.
that set up.
Okay.
But, he was zooming in because this week was a busy board meeting week for all of them, so.
Hello.
there he is.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello, Ken.
I've been listening, but I didn't put the start video on, so I apologize. highlight about 7 or 8 pages of things that I think are important that you should be aware of. First of all, on pages 1 and 2 of the financial statements, and I believe you guys have drafts or the actual report themselves. But on page 1 and 2 is the audit opinion, which basically says that you received a clean opinion that your financial statements are in accordance and fairly stated in accordance with the cash basis of accounting, which is really checkbook accounting, cash receipts in, cash disbursements out, that type of thing. That's the way most Missouri school districts, over 80% of them, are on the cash basis of accounting. So that you should be commended for that, Susan and her staff are doing a good job in terms of keeping the books clean. Couple things I want to highlight on page 12 and 13. Those are the fund financial statements by revenues and expenditures, which is the way you actually manage the business of the school district by fund accounting. And you'll see that on page 12, we have a $908,000 being in the red for the year. But of course, we spent a deficit of $4.9 million in capital projects, finishing up your high school project and other things that were going on for last year. So you only had $781,000 come in the capital projects for revenue, but we spent $5.7 million in capital project money. Overall, the general fund and the special revenue fund actually generated close to $2.5 million profitability. On page 13, you'll see the comparison with the prior year. And there it showed a surplus because we hadn't spent all the capital project money. But since your cash basis, you received the capital lease money and some of the debt service money. So from that standpoint, we had a $2,046,000 surplus going into 2021. On page 19 through 22 is the long-term debt note, which really summarizes all the different bonds and capital leases that are active at the end of the year and during the year. And at the bottom of page 20, you'll see your general obligation bond transactions. And you'll see that in the last 2 years, we started off with $10,800,000. And with 2 new bond series being issued of $8 million and $2,295,000, we are at $17,995,000 at the end of June 30th, 2021. As in addition to the general obligation bonds, you also have capital leases. We have an Apple computer capital lease that pays off in 2 years, 1 year remaining now, and a lease purchase for 2020B that started up last year, and that's $2,575,000. So together we have nearly $22 million in debt, which is the most highly leveraged school district I have. But you guys have been planning for these new capital projects, and they look like they are in good shape. And now it's just a matter of paying it off over time. And it looks like you have favorable terms in terms of interest rates and scheduled payments. And it appears that the district will be able to handle that without any problem. Note 8 of the financial statements talks about the 2 pension plans. And because of all the requirements that were required for financial reporting, it goes on and on for like 10 or 11 pages. But I want you to look at page 31, if you would. Page 31 shows basically your proportionate share of the net pension liability for the 2 pension plans that you have. One, of course, is the PSRS, which is the teacher's pension. And then the other is the peers pension plan, which is for the non-certificated employees. And you'll see in the middle column of that discount rate sensitivity that the liability at 7.5% imputed interest or expected return on investment is $15,423,000 for the PSRS program and $1,412,000 for the non-certificated, which means you have $16,835,000 of projected debt if the district were to merge with somebody else or basically go out of business. You'd also have, the district would still have a $16 million debt to pay off its pension liabilities. Just to continue on with that, if you look at pages 34 and 35, this shows how much of the liability is actually funded. And this here is the unfunded liability, but you see on page 34, for the teacher's pension, in 2014, it was 89.34% funded. And now their projection is that it's only 82% funded. So it's been slipping gradually for the last 7 years in terms of losing about 7% of being more exposed for the district. And also for the PSRS, or the peers plan, excuse me, it also dropped 7% from 91 down to 84%. So that just means that basically you're looking at, you're still well funded at 82% and 84%, but in the United States, the Missouri pension plans are probably in the top 10 when it comes to being fully funded or close to being fully funded, which is good news. But still, those are big numbers to look at and be concerned about. Nothing you can do about it because you're required by state law to be providing these pension plans for the employees. So it's just a matter of making sure that those pension plans are properly supervised and overlooked, and you ask questions about where it's headed from time to time, if you've been. Finally, before I go into some other details, there's on page 38 and 39, there's revenues by source. And those, that schedule basically just shows a comparison of the 2 years where your revenues came from. And you'll see on page 38, the local, county, and state monies that came in and their sources. And you'll see that local revenues dropped from 9.2 million down to 7.6 million. And county revenues were right in the $400,000 range. State revenues stayed right around $10 million and grew a little bit, a couple $100,000 there. And in the page 39 is your federal money. And that's where we've had the big jump in the past year. You can see that federal grant money was $5,651,000 collected versus about 2.6 million the year before. So that's up $3 million. And then of course, last year we had over $10 million in refunding bonds and selling of bonds that came into your receipts a year ago, which basically shows overall 24 million in revenues in 2021 versus 33 million the year before. In conjunction with that, on page 54 is a schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And these are all the federal grants and the nature of them, the nature of their character in terms of what's been received in the past year. And you'll see that child nutrition, you received $1 million in child nutrition grants. Title I, $776,000. CARES money is all over the place, but basically it's well over $3 million when you look at the ESSER fund and the county revenues. And overall, your expenditures for federal is $5,433,000 federal grants. Finally, on page 59, there's a 10-year look back or spreadsheet, the very last page of the report. And it shows some key statistics and data that I just like to talk about and see where you're headed and where you're going and where you've been, I guess, in the past. Fund balances are $14,082,000, which is the second highest in the past 10 years, with the past 2 years being the two highest, which means that's the healthiest we've been in terms of money available for the district. Revenues collected kind of bounces around in the past 10 years because of the ups and downs of getting borrowings of general obligation bonds and leases coming in. So you'll see that on average, you're at $21 to $25 million revenue base. When you don't have those expenditures, that's where you're at today. Revenues collected over expenditures paid. This year it was $908,000. And you can see it's been as high as certain years when you're spending money for capital projects, $3,392,000. And when money comes in, you've had a high of $4.4 million back in 2019. Other selected data would be long-term debt. You'll find that general obligation bonds, if you look there, they're $17,995,000, which peaked last year at $18,170,000. And your capital leases peaked last year also at $3,228,000. So they're starting on their debt service schedules to be paid down. So you're at $20,899,000, just a shiver below $20,900,000. Your assessed valuation that's been assessed is on a property of $126 million, and you can see where it's gone in the past 10 years from $110 million 10 years ago. Your operating levy has stayed the same the last 10 years. Your debt service, which is a function of when the general obligation bonds have to be serviced, you'll see is at 0.9. And overall, your calendar hours came back up because of the pandemic situation the year before. ADA, your average daily attendance number is the lowest it's been in the past 10 years. It's 1,608,000. And your September resident membership's 1,727,000, which is not quite the lowest it's been, but it's in the lower category of the last 10 years. Good news is that your operating fund balance to expenditure ratio is at 44.67%, which is very healthy. DESE believes that a 16 to 17% ratio, which is about 6 weeks of cash flow, is considered to be healthy for a Missouri school district. And I believe it should be more like 33 to 34%, which is more like 3 months of cash flow available. So 44.67 is very good. And you'll see that in the past 10 years, it's the highest it's been in the past 10 years. We got here in September. 4 of us came and spent 2 days of hard work and got a lot done. Got a lot of good cooperation with Susan and the rest of the team. And I'll field any questions you have.
Does anybody have any questions for Ken? All right, Ken, thank you very much for your presentation, and we really appreciate it, sir. And
Okay,
hopefully don't talk to you for another year. So,
all right. We'll see you next summer. Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Can I ask one question of Tim?
Yeah.
Operating fund balance ratio,
So,
where are we at realistically?
One thing that I really wanted to point out to you guys there is it shows we are extremely healthy at 44%, but keep in mind that's with roughly $3 million of ESSER sitting in it.
So realistically, when you're done spending that, where are we?
Yeah, so percentage-wise, I can't tell you because we're gaining interest off that right now.
Okay.
And then if ESSER 3 starts kicking in, it could bump it up even higher.
Okay.
So one concern is obviously if a taxpayer looks at the 44, they
Yeah.
can say, spend our money.
Yep.
We're paying you money, spend it. We're planning on spending it. We've signed those contracts with GRP. It's just right now it is sitting there, and right now, let's sit and make interest until next summer when we start those projects, so.
Okay, so the 40, just to
My-
understand, the 44 does include the existing ESSER funds that were already received as of
Correct.
June 30th, 2021?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So my best guess to you, even with our projections, we've kind of been going under what we have, so I think we're gonna be sitting around 30%. But we're gonna see 14% drop off that by next year's audit.
And last question, and I probably should have asked him, but assessed valuation at prior December 31st, that does not include the recent reassessment done by the counties, correct?
Correct.
So that will actually go up again
Correct.
because this is as of 2020.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the audit's always for the year previous.
Now we just gotta talk about the levy.
I have a question. On the ESSER, it shows, we had ESSER 2 was 2.5, and then it shows ESSER 1 at only 1,800. What's the Education Stabilization Fund? Is that ESSER also, or why is it stated differently?
What page are you on?
54. It's coded all the same as the ESSERs, but it's stated different. Does it have different stipulations on the spending like ESSER does, or what is that? Education Stabilization Fund under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act.
So last year before they actually pinned down the term ESSER, we got CARES money and just, so yeah, it is coronavirus money, but it is not part of the ESSER
Similar
series.
stipulations on
Correct.
spending.
The first part they released was strictly for buying of like mask and Germ-X and
I think
things
it's coded
directly
the
there.
same.
Yeah. So it's all part of CARES money. It's just a different series.
All right, anybody else? All
I
right.
might say if you look at page 39 of the report, it shows the CARES fund money. And the original ESSER 1 money was $519,000 received in the fiscal year 2020.
I actually thought of another question. You mentioned we are one of the highest leveraged school districts that you work with. Can you give me an idea of what an average school district you work with is leveraged at?
Well,
Okay. So we're one of the highest, though? In your
yeah, I mean,
opinion?
you just have a lot of debt. Typically, most districts are probably in the $3 million to $7 million range.
Okay.
But obviously, you have a much larger district, so I expect these numbers to be up. And of course, you took on some pretty big projects here in the last 3 years. So,
So I guess as a statistic or as a percentage is what I would be asking for. So you're saying as a dollar amount compared to other districts, but you're not, when you say dollar amount, you weren't considering size of district at that time of statement?
well, if you look at page 22, it shows what you're allowed in terms of general obligation bonds.
Yep.
18,900,000 you could borrow, which is really 15% of assessed valuation. And you'll see there that your legal debt margin, which is how much more remaining you could borrow, is 3.5 million. So basically you've used over 80%.
I see where we're coming from now. Gotcha. Okay.
Debt limit. So that's pretty highly leveraged.
Yep, I would agree.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to the next presentation is the Career and Technical Education Evaluation and Plan for 21-22. Are you presenting this, Tim? Oh, I'm sorry. Gray is, yeah. Sorry.
This is really a continuation that we do every year. Last couple years, obviously, things in this in the world of agricultural business, marketing, and industrial technology, as far as the career and technical education programs, what you have in your board packets. We have the vision and mission statement that's been included in there with you, with the help of Ms. Parsons there. Just know that the vision and mission statement of the Career and Technical Department is in line with the CSIP goals that we have. But also, the thing about this is, we want to try and get our kids ready to go out in the real world and work. And so that's really the purpose of the evaluation plan, is to try and get an evaluation tool for our programs in the school, but it helps us identify the strengths and any concerns we might have in order to get the kids ready. I know that there's in this evaluation that we have, there are 6 criteria areas: program of study, curriculum, instruction, assessment, career and technical student organizations, and then program management and planning. That's the 6 areas that we look at. And of those 6 areas, there's different quality indicators for all the programs I just mentioned. And so that's how they kind of look and evaluate that. I know this is reviewed. There's a timeline in your packet. If you have any questions, I mean, we're probably couple things we're looking at to try and have points of emphasis. I know that we've talked about with the advent of COVID the last 2.5 years. One thing that's kind of fallen a little bit by the wayside, truthfully, has been the advisory boards for each one of the programs, where you have community members, parents, things like that form an advisory committee. And so what we do on that is we're trying to show a little more, and that's going to be a point of emphasis this year, to try and get some more community input and business people from the community in there to give input on how they would like to see some things done in those different career fields. So, but that's kind of what it is. Hopefully the information you see there, you can see the quality indicators and things that's they're putting up there on the board right now. And it's, we have our timeline of when we want to get some things accomplished, and hopefully by the end of the year we will be able to check each one of those things off. So pretty self-explanatory, really.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Harlan? No, good. Thank you. Yeah. All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Need a second? Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. On to discussion topics. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2022-2023 calendar.
It's very odd to think about the fact we're already starting to plan for next year, but reality is it's that time of year. Right now I'm working on putting a survey together to send out to staff as well as patrons of the community, so you all have an opportunity to get your 2 cents in as well, I guess, with the way next school year will look. Last year, I know we based a lot of questions on PLC time. The community was 90% supportive on, if we're going to do that and that's something we're going to value, we need to stick with that on Fridays. So just 1 year out, I don't feel that's necessarily something we'll look at this year. But there are small things that every year, obviously, most people want to start as late as possible and get out as early as possible, but there's also restrictions in there with hours. So we want to be realistic and not throw options at community members or staff members that are not realistic. But right now, the plan is we'll send out a survey. Once we get the results of the survey, we'll build a couple calendars based off of that, and then we'll open it up for voting within those options and go from there. The plan right now is to be able to present that to you guys at the January board meeting. So just wanted to touch base there with calendar. Any questions on the process for calendar before we move into return to learn? Okay. One of the regulations within receiving ESSER money is within every a minimum of every 6 months that every school district will reevaluate their return to learn plan, make any needed adjustments to it. Right now, if you guys have the return to learn open, if you scroll to the last page, I guess it would be page 9 of 10, you can see that 8 and 9 of 10, we added in the test to stay, so that would be new since last time we'd opened things up and discussed. Obviously, we started that last month. Due to the way numbers have gone, the test to stay has been an option that has been very good for the school district. We actually have seen an increase. Last week we had 12 positive cases alone within the district. If I added up, take out the first 3 weeks of the school year, those 12 cases supersede what we've had every other week in the school year. Now this was from an isolated event, but it is what it is. We had a increase. Without test to stay, there's a good chance that we would have met our 10% threshold that we have established as a district. So the test to stay has been very helpful. We, at the elementary level, without quoting those statistics, we've had more families choose not to do it. I don't know if they don't want to put their kid through the testing of, getting it stuck up the nose, or if they, I don't know the rationale behind it, but there's been less than at the high school. At the high school, I feel like more have chosen that option. Middle school, I feel more have chosen that option as well. The next thing that you'll see added to the return to learn plan, when we filled out our contract for being able to get approved of ESSER 3 monies, one of the things that the state, we did have it listed on our website, but we did not actually have it in our plan, was respiratory etiquette, which is just how to properly cover your mouth if you cough. But to be approved for ESSER 3 funding, we had to have that in our plan, which I would like to go ahead and say to you guys, as of yesterday, I received an email that our ESSER 3 has been accepted and approved through the state of Missouri. So now if it is appropriated, we'll get that money. There is a scare they've released today that, or yesterday I guess they released it, that if that money is not appropriated through the legislature by March 21st, the state has to turn the money back over to the federal government. From the legislators, they've shown that there are other priorities before they're even willing to talk about ESSER money, and they're priorities that typically take over precedent every year. So it is a little alarming, but we're still optimistic. And at the same time, that's why you see the change there on the return to learn plan, adding in respiratory etiquette. So just wanted to bring that forward to you guys. As we move forward, obviously, vaccination has opened up to all school-age children. When you add that into it and you add the now test to stay, I think we are slowly creeping one step closer to what we dealt with before, is now the ball really is in your court or your family's court. If you want to believe in getting vaccinated, you can believe in that. If you don't, then you have that option to believe that you don't. If you want your kid to be in school either way, you now have that option. If you say, no, we're not doing it for whatever reason, then you have that option too. So eventually, my thought is that all the options are out there now. It's on your family's choice. So hopefully we are moving in the right direction. Time will tell. And that's all I have in discussion of the plan. Do you guys have any anything you'd like to bring up with Return to Learn?
Okay. All right, move on to action topics. First off, I need a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 2021 audit report.
Make the motion.
Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then under action topics, we need to approve the updated Return to Learn plan that Mr. Webster just presented.
Make the motion.
Got a motion? Need a second? Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Awesome. One thing I'd like to start here, just a tradition for us. This is more for just everybody in the room. I'd like to start a tradition where we have kind of a Christmas dinner. So I'd just like to invite everybody on December 15th. I'm going to get my cook on for you guys. If you could get here a little bit early at 5 o'clock, I'd like to invite all board members, all administrators and directors, and just have a small get-together where we can just sit and relax and enjoy times a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that. Usually when we see one another, it's just in time for a board meeting. So just wanted to put that out so you can all add that to your calendars. School district float. We're in the process of trying to find out if we can throw together a float for the Christmas parade. We found out that the timing is less than ideal. We have a lot of high school events going on that day. I think we have some middle school events going on, and we even have some elementary events going on. So we're still finding out if when you take away supervision duties and real life duties, if we're going to have enough people to be in the parade. But right now, hopefully we can have a school district float. We'll throw candy at you if we see you. So just wanted to kind of bring that up to light. It is December 4th, yeah. Tiger Trot update. Obviously, you guys know this is near and dear to me a little bit, so I wanted to take a chance to report on it. We had raised, last I looked, just off entry fees and sponsors, we were around $5,000. The buildings were able to chip in out of their student fundraiser some money. And the original goal was to get around $8,000. I decided if we get close to that even if we fall short, that I'll pay whatever it takes to get us to that $8,000. So we have been able to achieve our goal that I didn't know if we'd be able to achieve our first year. Student gifts have been ordered. So every kid in the district will receive a gift before they go on winter break. And that's something that I'm just pretty excited about. 57 participants have signed up, which is pretty good for a first year as well. So we're really excited about seeing how that goes. Moving into the nutrition, we've started getting food back in at a better rate. Now we're struggling with produce, the fresh food items, to a point that some of the USDA and as well as SNA, which is the Food Representation Organization for school districts, are investigating into some possible price gouging. As there are shortages, we all understand that prices go up, but I think in speaking with Linda, some things that used to be, $20 or $30 for this much of is now like $90 for this much of. So the rates have just skyrocketed. And so now they're looking to protect school districts to see if there is true price gouging that's going on. So just wanted to update everybody about that. Facilities report, obviously the lighting project is still moving forward. The elementary is nearly complete. They consider substantially, as you guys should be, up to date with a little bit. There are still certain light fixtures that have not been done. I don't believe all the motion sensors have been put in, but they said that's kind of the last after they get all the lights changed out. High school is in the same scenario, and now the middle school. I know I talked to Miss Lepper earlier today, and she told me it was a different building because you can see things. So it's definitely it's a noticeable difference. The savings to the district if they are near what they say they will be. They estimated us at $39,000 a year in saving in electricity. So if they did their homework and that's accurate, that's obviously something that's going to pay for itself over the next few years. Maintenance staff has been fixing outside light fixtures. That was not part of the project, but we discussed, Wes and I discussed the fact if we're going LED within the district, we might as well go LED throughout the entire district. We had some lights that ballasts were out. We got those up to date. While we did it, we were able to, while we had a lift rented, we were able to get some banners up. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I think it's a nice addition to branding our district. I think that's one thing that we have lacked. We need to say who we are and be proud of who we are. So hopefully people have kind of seen things go that way. Branco is still working on their final punch list items. One of the big hot topics was the sound rooms in the band area. It has been a struggle to see eye to eye on those things. Finally, today actually, I gave the final approval. If they did what they told me this morning they were going to do, that we would accept that. So hopefully by the end of this week that will be finished, which was one of the biggest hang-ups. The other hang-up was painting of the railways. They'd done touch-up work on it. They tried. It looked worse than it did when we wouldn't accept it before. We're at a point now where they just said, what's it going to take to say yes? And I said, it's going to take a complete repaint. So that's got to be during time that we aren't here. So that might push back a little bit. I don't know if they'll do it over Thanksgiving break, but it'll probably be Christmas break if they don't. So this saga is going to continue. But we finally, I feel, gotten to a point of now the question is just, what will you accept? And they either say no or yes, and then we just don't talk for a couple days, and then we get back together and we say, I'm still in the same place. So optimistic that this will end one day. Roofing and gutters, obviously phase one of GRP, we have gotten those roofs addressed. If you've noticed, there's mismatched trim all over the building right now. The new part had gray. The old part of the high school was all white. We obviously decided to go with the gray that matches the new part, since it should theoretically last longer. So they've now put the gutter and flashing around the gym area. So now there's still some white areas throughout, but by the end of the project, it will all match. It's just one of those things, we piece it together as we do it. So headed in the right direction there. I think it looks really sharp. Not that you ever really pay attention to the siding on the roof, but when you actually look at it to see what you paid for, it does look nice. So we're getting there, folks. Technology report. New MacBooks have arrived. Those have been deployed to being in the process of being deployed to staff members. Josh is still very hopeful that the iPads will come in over Christmas break. His staff works over Christmas break, so he thinks high school kids are obviously a little different. You can put it in front of a high school kid and say, here, log in. Middle school, the same thing to an extent in elementary, but with the little ones, that's going to be a little more hands-on. So we've kind of discussed back to school. We might just all be boots on the ground to kind of help get a few hundred iPads up to speed. But at this point, we are optimistic we'll be able to trade those off over Christmas break if Apple is able to get them to us on the timeline they said, which one thing that will take off of our debt services, as you heard Ken during the audit say that we currently lease those. As of next year, we will own them. So the next 4 or 5 years, we will not have to make a $365,000 payment each year on them. So that is a good thing for us that we were able to get through, and I can't say enough for both of the Joshes for making that happen for us. So winter activities, you can see there the dates of kind of the soap scrimmage and the first events for all of the teams. Coach Shockley also added the scoreboard that we've got up within the high school, so new addition within the high school that was donated to us by Hartley's and Phelps County Bank. So obviously we're very thankful for that donation, and it is a great addition to our gym. Exciting times. Moving on to the financial report. Looking at October finances, we are still in a good place. We're at around 28% of the budget, so heading into the middle of November, financially, things are still looking good for us, so that's always a plus side. Building reports, Dr. Williams.
So we shared the attendance data there with you, and just to kind of start off, wanted to share some good news, good things that are going on. We've had a few situations where there's just been a need, and so we've just had a lot of staff members who step up to fill that need, and just really appreciate their willingness to just step in and help wherever it's needed. So I think that's always, I think that's always commendable to just step up and fill in whenever it's needed. So I really appreciate that from our staff. We have been working on developing a vertical scope and sequence for math. As we've looked at how do students transition from middle school math into high school math, that's something that we feel like we needed to really look into. And so a proposal has been presented to both the middle school and high school math teachers, and we are working to just make sure that it's articulated, that students are gathering the skills they need, and then that there's a logical progression in through high school, that they're taking the courses in the appropriate sequence that they need to take. That's something that we'll probably then also look at with other core areas, just to make sure that we have that vertical alignment as well. On November 8th, we spent quite a bit of time working on our curriculum. One of the things that we've done curriculum a lot in the state of Missouri, and as we've gone through, things have been called different names and those kinds of things, but trying to really get into it and develop a place that will hold our documents and retain in the district, so that if I created the document and then I left, it didn't go with me, so that teachers always had access to it. So we started with that, with a shared drive that's going to be our curriculum warehouse. So that is district owned, so it'll always stay in. All the documents are being created in that area. And then teachers are working to put their pacing guides into a common format. And that's gonna be kind of a one-stop landing page for them, so that they can link all of their documents to that, and then just easily get into assessments, easily get into their priority standards and everything else that they need. So we started that work on November 8th. It was a great PD day. I heard good things around the district as we were walking through. And again, hopefully it's easy to review in the future, so that it's in one spot. The other things that I wanted to share, November 29th is our first day. We did get approval for our Grow Your Own grant. We have not heard back from the teacher retention grant as yet, but we did get approved for the Grow Your Own. And so we have our first event coming up on November 29th. And on that day, our university community partner is going to come in, and he's going to speak with our FTA students. We've invited a couple FTAs from local school districts as well to join us, so he's gonna present in the auditorium to future teachers around the region. All right, aspiring administrators got off to a great start. We have 6 aspiring administrators in the program this year. Our 3 first-year aspiring administrators are Becky Daniels, Jamie Engelbrecht, and Tracy Barr. And then we have a group that's going through the second year. And in that second year, one of the things that we really wanted to give them the opportunity to do was have a leadership project, something that they felt passionate about and could take on and lead in that area. So Katie Schultz is going to take on the Grow Your Own grant, since she works so much with our future teachers. Lisa Hartley is working with our virtual learning and curriculum development to really create a rubric and guidelines for developing virtual courses that we can offer through the district. And then I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Blakely yet, but we're gonna find something that she's passionate about as well. Going into the buildings, you're gonna see a lot of great things going on at Lucy with a lot of experiential learning as they're building ecosystems, and they're getting to go on field trips and do all those kinds of great things. And then first grade had a successful canned food drive. I believe they actually collected 1,972 cans of food to donate. So that was quite a big effort on their part. At the middle school, you'll see that we had 10 students who participated in the CDMMEA Junior High Honor Band, which is exciting for those students. And then also we had several students who received several awards over the course of the month. So our kids are out doing great things and it's being recognized. At the high school, you'll notice that our teachers are modeling in their classrooms what learning looks like and great experiences as well, dressing like Civil War soldiers, and then also actually spending time learning for themselves as we continue to look for a math resource. They're engaged in that process. And again, we had several great things going on in our performing arts areas with our band, having 5 district band members performing. And then, as was brought up earlier, our play was just this weekend. Principals, do you have anything you would like to add?
I mean, we had, I think it was 4 or 5 kids named to the All-State Choir this past weekend.
Awesome. Great.
Was the Alzheimer's, excuse me, was that the pie in the face? Who won? Who gets the pie?
Coach Hodge.
Nice.
You're good. Next, board candidate filing. Obviously, this will be a busy board season for us with 2 members that were replacements, and then Tina, Justin, and Larry so they'll all 3 be up. Filing begins December 7th. Filing ends December 28th. Obviously, election day will be April 5th. You can see there MSBA policy BBB, which just explains how anybody who files for candidacy will be placed on the ballot, and that process there. So just wanted to touch base with that. Those are the timelines for this year. MSBA news. Obviously, the topic still remains to be on COVID. One of the things that they really hit on this month was the test to stay option. I truly do feel that we were ahead of this a little bit, more so than a lot of districts, just for the fact that we already were able to do testing here. So it wasn't that initial shock of waiting to get tests in, even though that it's a scare. What happens if you're telling people they can stay and they can test, and then we don't have tests? But we've been fortunate that we've been able to provide those to students. So they talked a lot about that. Teachers in Missouri, they've got a new initiative being pushed across the state to address the teacher shortages. Obviously, the grants that were given to the schools to find ways within their local communities to try and address it. One thing that DESE is very proud of right now is they've now launched Missouri.teach.org. What that is it tells people, it's kind of a step process of if you are in another career field and decided you want to become a teacher, what steps do you need to take to become one from there? If you're a high school kid getting ready to go to college, what steps should you take there? They're advertising as a one-stop shop to, you want to be a teacher, this is how you do it. So they're hopeful that they can get some interest from that website. I think they've just finished it up. Next month they're going to start through commercial ads, starting to push it statewide. So we'll see if that's something that can kind of get off the ground and running to help the teacher shortage. Projections now over the next 4 years, there will not be enough people qualified to be teachers to fill the vacancies in the state of Missouri. So it is definitely an issue. And that is all I have.
All right. Okay, I'd like to
Make a motion to adjourn to
close
closed session.
All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, closed session it is.